The airlock warning light was already flashing red when I heard it for the first time. I was wedged inside a maintenance crawlway, my back pressed against a coolant pipe, trying to reseat a relay that had been throwing fault codes for 6 days. My hands were cramped, sweat was dripping into my right eye, and then the alien next to me made a sound that went straight through my chest like a bass drum fired at point-blank range. It was not a roar, it was not a shriek. It was lower than both of those, deeper than anything a human throat could produce, and it resonated in the metal walls around us so that the entire crawlway felt like the inside of a struck bell. My brain told me to run. Every cell in my body agreed. The part of human biology that had kept our ancestors alive for 100,000 years woke up, looked at the situation, and said very clearly that this was the moment to leave. I did not leave. I turned my head and looked at her instead. Her name was Shar. She was 7 feet tall, silver gray, built like something designed by a committee that had decided halfway through that subtlety was overrated. Bioluminescent stripes ran from her jaw to her wrists and were currently cycling through a shade of orange that I had privately catalogued as the frustrated color. She was glaring at the relay panel with the focused intensity of someone who had been personally insulted by a piece of machinery. She made the sound again. The panel did not care. It sat there, broken, indifferent. I do not know why I said what I said next. I have thought about it many times since and I still do not have a good answer. I was tired, and my hands hurt, and maybe my filter was down. Whatever the reason, I leaned slightly toward her and I said, very quietly, "That is adorable." She stopped moving. Complete stillness, the kind of stillness that large things achieve when they have redirected every processing resource toward a single point. She turned her head, slowly, and looked at me with amber eyes that were suddenly very focused. "What," she said, in careful standard, "did you say to me?" I considered lying, decided against it. I said the growl is adorable. The sound you make when something frustrates you. It is very expressive. I like it. She looked at me for a long time. Then she turned back to the panel, seated the relay with one precise motion, and it clicked into place perfectly after 6 days of refusing to cooperate with anyone. She crawled back toward the hatch without another word. I assumed that was the end of it. 4 days later, I was eating breakfast when she walked past my table and made the sound. Small this time, controlled, almost quiet, like a word rather than a warning. I looked up. She was already 3 tables away, not looking back. I sat there with my fork halfway to my mouth for a full 10 seconds. It happened again in the corridor outside the systems bay. And that time my crewmate Oliver, who was sitting beside me and was a very practical person, leaned over and said quietly, "She is doing that at you specifically. You are aware of this." "Is she?" I said. "For 4 days," Oliver said. "The whole crew has noticed. Some of us are concerned. I found out that evening what the sound actually meant." Oliver sat me down in the common room with the kind of careful expression people use when they are about to deliver information they believe will be alarming. He explained that in Vrethkai behavioral biology, the sound Shar kept making at me was called the pre-hunt vocalization. It was, technically speaking, an announcement of pursuit, a declaration, not told the target, "I have selected you. I am coming. There is no point in trying to get away." Every species in the known galaxy received this information as a threat. "Reyes," Oliver said. "She is performing a predator declaration at you during crew briefings." "I know," I said. "At you, personally." "Yes. And you are not concerned." I thought about how to explain it. I thought about how it felt when she made that sound. The way it went through my chest, and found something there that was not fear. The way her stripes went blue-gold right after, in a slow, warm pulse that I had been quietly trying to identify in the Xenobio reference files without success. I thought about what it meant that the most precise and capable being I had ever worked with had looked at every person on this ship and decided that I was the one worth the effort. "Oliver," I said, "I think it is the most romantic thing I have ever witnessed." Oliver put his face in his hands. 2 days later, Shar found me in the cargo bay during late inventory shift. I heard her before I saw her, that slight change in air pressure that I had learned to notice months ago, without ever examining why I had started noticing it. She came to the end of the row and stopped. Her stripes were doing the slow blue-gold pulse, bright, steady, both of them. "I heard what you said to Oliver," she told me. "The Morwen on Deck 4 told you, did not they?" "Oliver told me directly," he said, and I am quoting, "Someone needs to say something, and it is clearly not going to be either of you." "That is fair," I said. She was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, she was slower, more deliberate, feeling her way through something that did not translate easily. "After the crawlway," she said, "I studied humans. I wanted to understand what you saw when you looked at me and called that sound adorable. I read everything I could find. A pause. I did not understand the flowers. I blinked. The flowers. In human courtship, you give another person a flower, which is a living thing that will die within days, to express what? Exactly. It seems inefficient. It is extremely inefficient, I agreed. I also did not understand the poetry. You are expressing a feeling indirectly, through metaphor, hoping the other person will interpret it correctly. The margin for error is very large. It really is, I said. But I understood the choosing, she said. The way humans return, repeatedly. The way you demonstrate that you mean something not once but many times, through small actions that accumulate, because you believe the other person is worth the sustained effort. Her stripes pulsed brighter for a moment. That part I understood completely. She crossed the cargo bay and stopped in front of me. Close. And she drew a breath and she made the sound. Full register this time. Both harmonics. The subsonic layer that skipped my ears entirely and went straight to the ancient part of my brain. The part that was very old and very honest, and had never once in its life been wrong about danger. The shelves vibrated. The overhead light flickered once. And every single one of her bioluminescent stripes blazed gold. Not the slow pulse. A full sustained blaze. Like every light in a dark building turned on at once. Warm and total. And directed entirely at me. I am told, she said, when the sound faded, this frightens most beings. Yes, I said. Does it frighten you? I looked at her, standing there in her own gold light, patient and precise and choosing, the way she always chose everything, with complete and deliberate intention. No, I said. Why not? Because I know what it means now, I said. And because you are the one making it. The stripes flared once, brilliant, then settled back into that warm, slow pulse. Good, she said. That is why I chose you. Because you were not afraid, and because you called it adorable. It is adorable, I said. She made the small version of the sound then, the quiet one, the shaped one that I had been misclassifying for months, and was now revising my entire catalog to correctly label. You are very strange, she said. I know, I said. We all are. That was 4 months ago. The Xenobio files used the word for the gold color she had been throwing that night. The translation is imperfect, but the closest standard rendering is something between warmth and home and you, specifically. She still makes the small sound when I am working nearby and not looking at her. Just the small one, shaped and quiet, like a sentence that does not need to be spoken aloud but she wants to say anyway. Every time she does, I feel it like a tuning fork struck at exactly the right frequency, and I look up, and she is already looking back, gold-lit and steady. I know what the rest of the galaxy hears when she makes that sound. I know what every instinct in the documented biology of 93% of sapient species tells them to do when they hear it. But here is something I have come to believe about humans, something I think the galaxy underestimates when it looks at us, and sees something small, and soft, and confusingly calm. We are not fearless. We feel fear. We know exactly what it is. We simply feel other things alongside it, and sometimes those other things win. We hear a sound that every ancient part of us says to run from, and some stubborn, ridiculous, irreplaceable corner of human wiring stops and listens and says, wait, is that not beautiful? Is that not, in its own deep and resonant and gold-lit way, completely and utterly adorable? She just leaned past me to reach the panel controls, and made the small sound right next to my ear, deliberate and warm, and her stripes are doing the slow gold pulse. I called it adorable. She is never going to stop, and I am completely, perfectly fine with that.